Hi, Ghouls. It's Kim. Different background, I know. I've got some viewers who like it when I'm filming from home, don't like it when I film from the office because there's like business stuff behind me, diplomas or whatever. So thought I'd try a different spot today. Welcome to my channel. I talk about LGBT issues, and lately I've been talking about different things for straight people. So today's topic is bisexuality for straight people. So we're going to try to keep it simple. LGBT friends who are like experts in women's studies and queer studies. I'm not going to get too deeply into this, but feel free to add your comments below. Speaking of that, I'd love to if you gave me a thumbs up, if you hit the red subscribe button, hit the little bell that will let you know every time I put up a new video. All right, so jumping right into it. I promised last time that I would talk about this. First off, caveats. While I'm probably technically bisexual, I identify as a lesbian. Now, for you straight people out there, you go, what? Okay. The nice thing about identity is that, for the most part, we get to choose what works for us. And as LGBT people are not brought up, generally, in an LGBT culture, we don't all know the same things. We don't all know the same definition of words. We don't all know how to say things the same way. So here's my best advice for straight people when you can't figure out how to label somebody. Well, one, don't worry so much about labeling. But if somebody says to you they're bisexual or they're lesbian or they're genderqueer or they're gender, fluid or whatever, and you're like, I don't know what that means, it's okay. Here's your tip. All you have to do is say, oh, okay, would you tell me more about what that means to you? And let them explain to you what that means. You can translate however you want, but if they use the term genderqueer, or they use the term bisexual or pansexual or lesbian or gay or transgender or whatever the word is that they're using, respectfully use it because it's the one they identify with, but let them explain by asking, oh, so what does that mean to you? All right, so I identify as lesbian because, well, one, I am in a relationship with a woman, and two, I can't imagine in my head really ever having a relationship with a man if something horrible were to happen to my wife. It's just not something that I can imagine in my head. So because of that, I identify as lesbian. Now, so bisexual. I get a lot of straight people who seem to think that you're bisexual if you're in the bedroom with two people at the same time. And while for some of you that might be a really amazing sexual fantasy, that is not necessarily bisexuality. Bisexuality and pansexuality are two terms for people who might say that they love the person and not the gender or sex of the person. Bisexual, and there's some disagreement in academic circles about whether bi as a word is truly binary. So binary is that fancy word that we use in the English language to mean that there are words have a word and then they're opposites, so like hot or cold, or man and woman. So that there's like two choices, and nobody's ever thinking about warm, hot and cold, and then there's warm, there's lukewarm, there's body temperature, there's all kinds of stuff in between. But really the binary is the hot and the cold. It's either hot or it's cold. It's either a man or a woman. So bisexuality could mean that somebody is attracted to both men and women. And it may be that they're a little bit more attracted to women or they're a little bit more attracted to men as opposed to being equally attracted to both. Here's the thing. I was talking the other day about people who, straight people who come out, and they use the phrase, well, my wife and I went on vacation, or this is assuming I'm a man, my wife and I went on vacation, and that's coming out because by indicating an opposite gender spouse, who we're presuming they're in a romantic and sexual relationship with, they are stating that they're attracted to the opposite sex. Bisexual folks may also say the same thing. So you could have a bisexual man who's saying, well, my wife and I did X, and we assume that they're heterosexual. And because that happens, or even in the reverse, if I was a man and I said, well, my husband and I did X, then we all make the assumption that they are gay or homosexual, and we forget about that they could be bisexual because they're usually we identify them with the gender or sex of their romantic or sexual partner. And in that way, we tend to make bisexual people invisible. And then, say I'm that man again, and I've been telling you about my wife, and something happens to my wife, and now I'm dating a man, and so now I'm talking about, well, my boyfriend and I. It can get really confusing for people because they think this person has all of a sudden turned gay. And they haven't. They've just been bisexual all along and happen to have been in a long-term relationship with a woman, and now they happen to be dating a man. It doesn't mean they turned or they changed or anything. It simply was that they were bisexual to start with. My personal belief is a lot of people who claim success at conversion therapy, reparative therapy, or something like that out in the world actually are bisexual. There are some that claim success and then later say, no, that really didn't work. Those are the true gay folks. But the ones who claim success and seem to be working through life that way probably were bisexual to start with. All right, so pansexual. So bi is the binary, man or woman. And we're assuming in that case that people identify either only as a man or only as a woman. And we can think about, we can go back to our conversations around transgender people or genderqueer people to know that that can get complicated, that people don't necessarily identify only as a man or only as a woman. And so pansexual is kind of this idea that you could be in a relationship with somebody who doesn't necessarily fit or doesn't identify as a man or a woman, may identify genderqueer, gender fluid, transmasculine, transfeminine, transgender, all those kinds of variations, natural, normal variations on human identity. And so pansexual is a way of communicating your openness to people who don't fit those binaries of just man or just woman. Hope that helps. If you have any questions, please ask them below in the comments. I'd love to answer them, and I'm sure there's other people out there that are my viewers who would also be totally willing to answer them. Again, I am not bisexual. I have probably overlooked a lot of nuance, but I am kind of trying to keep this simple because this particular video is aimed at straight folks. So bisexuality for straight folks. All right. Again, hit the red subscribe button. The more people who hit the red subscribe button, the more YouTube shows my videos to the world. And I would love to get my message out to as many people as possible. Anyway, have a great week, equals. Bye.